This lesson is on double angle trig formulas, and there are two that you have to know how to use. One of them for sine and for cosine, although there are some others equivalents. The reason they're called double angle is because theta represents an angle and 2 theta is 2 times or double. So notice the formulas aren't alike at all. Two totally different ones. You don't have to memorize them, just be aware. Okay, let's read this one and see what we are given and what we have to find. It says, without finding x, find the exact value of sine 2x. Okay, so that's what we're finding. Let's pause a minute. So if we're finding sine 2x, then that means we're using this formula. So it's 2 times sine theta times cosine theta, or x, or whatever variable. So look, we're given cosine x, so we're given this value. We just have to find sine theta. And we're also given what quadrant it's in. So if cosine is 4/5, what two sides of the triangle is that? So there are your adjacent and your hypotenuse sides. And this is only one triangle, only one variable, angle x, or if you want to label it theta, that's fine too. Okay, so we won't be needing the second formula. What we'll need is, for sine 2 theta, we'll need 2, we brought that down, sine theta, gotta find that, cosine theta or cosine x, we have that already. So remember, don't write cosine 4/5. Cosine x is 4/5, so this is 4/5. So how do we find the missing piece of the puzzle? How do we find sine theta? Well, let's look at the triangle. Here's your theta, here's your x. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite side, this is a very common triangle. You could use Pythagorean theorem, but I bet most of you can guess what this one is. 3, 4, 5. So sine theta, sine x, opposite over hypotenuse. So this would be 3 over 5. Now we just got to multiply it out. You don't do anything with the left side of the equation. Your answer is the right side of the equation. So once we get this part simplified, we're done. So remember, multiply, you put a whole number over 1, multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. And there we have it. 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 4 is 24, 1 times 5 is 5, 5 times 5 is 25. So sine 2x, which is what we had to find, is 24 over 25. Alright, pause the video and see how far you can get on this one. Try to draw your triangle in the appropriate quadrant, label your sides of the triangle using the given information, and determine what formula you use from what you have to find. Did you draw your triangle correctly? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So if we're in quadrant 3, triangle looks like this. And opposite is 12. Hypotenuse is 13. And you got this negative sign, and the hypotenuse can't be negative. You know that the vertical side, because in quadrant 3, down is negative. And so is left. So this number is going to be a -2. Let's go ahead and put it there. Okay, here are the formulas for double angle. And we're using cosine, so we're going to be using the bottom one this time, not the top. So, working out the Pythagorean theorem, you find that the missing side is 5. Common mistake though, be careful. If you put this in the calculator wrong, it'll tell you -144. And that's supposed to be positive. Negative times negative, when you square 12, -12 times -12 is positive 144. So then you subtract it from both sides, you get 25. And square root of 25 is 5. Okay, recall what it means when we see cosine squared theta. It means that the whole thing is squared. Same with sine. The whole thing is squared. So it's not the theta that you're plugging in for. You're plugging in cosine theta, or cosine x. So let's use our triangle. Pac-Man goes at the origin. That's your reference angle. That's your theta in this case. Remember, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that will be -5 over 13 right there. And then sine, we're already given sine, so from the opposite over hypotenuse. And then to square a fraction, you just square the top, square the bottom. Negative times negative is a positive. 5 times 5 is 25. 13 times 13 is 169. Same with the second part. Negative times negative is a positive. 12 times 12 is 144. 13 times 13 is 169. Just brushing up on those math skills. Then you do the subtraction. Great, we already have the common denominator, so we're just going to subtract the numerators. And your final answer for cosine 2 theta is -119 over 169. Okay, this one's yours to do. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'll help you get started a little bit. Of course, you're given sine theta, so you have two sides of the triangle. Where do you draw the triangle? Remember that this part tells you what quadrant it goes in. So if theta is between these two values, then you know what quadrant it's in. You may have to refresh what pi halves is, but it's between 0 and pi halves. So once you figure out what quadrant it's in, label your sides, then use your sine 2 theta formula. And finally, this would be your last one. You're given tangent, so you've got two sides actually there. What is the how do you make tangent? How do you make that's a fraction? You put it over something. So there's your two sides, and you're also given what quadrant it's in. So refresh your memory on where pi halves and pi is, because your angle is between those two numbers. And then you have to find cosine 2 theta using the double angle formula for that. So pause the video, work those two problems, and turn it in, and you're done.